Very good morning, one and all. Now let's move on with interpretation of NMR spectra. As we have completed principle and applications of NMR, now let's move on to it. And we'll revise once about principle and instrumentation. In the principle part, what are the things we have discussed? What is nuclear magnetic resonance? It is depending on the odd mass number nucleus. Odd mass number having nucleus will be having spin quantum number and it will be existing with magnetic properties. So nucleus will be having magnetic properties and the magnetic property will exist with a precision frequency when this precision frequency that is said in cycles per second frequency units, precision frequency unit also cycles per second are megahertz hertz units. Okay, so how many megacycles per second nucleus rotates, that much rotations or cycles will be equilibrium or getting equilibrium with or will be resonating with applied frequency. Applied frequency also will be having some many cycles per second radiations waves in the form of cycles per second. So that is considered as mega cycles per second or megahertz. So when it is resonating precision frequency, when it is resonates with applied frequency, then what happens? NMR spectrum appears. Means it goes from ground state to excited state after absorbing energy. So the spin will be changed. It gets the anti-parallel orientation. Which one? Nucleus gets anti-parallel orientation when the radiation is absorbed. Then it will be relaxing through spin relaxation, spin lattice relaxation, and spin relaxation, spin lattice, and quadrupole relaxation. Through those three processes, nucleus will be coming to ground state. So the flipping of nucleus from ground state to excited state and excited state to ground state, that is parallel to anti-parallel, anti-parallel to parallel orientation is known as flipping of proton. So this is how nuclear magnetic resonance is obtained through spectroscopic analysis. Now, what are the instrumental parts we require based on the kind of instruments? One is continuous wave NMR, another one is FT-NMR. In continuous wave NMR, we'll be keeping one parameter as constant since we are using two parameters to analyze the nucleus. The first one is applied frequency, that is radio waves, and the second one is the external magnetic field. So these two sources we are using to recognize the nucleus present in the sample. Here one source will be kept constant, either magnetic field or radio frequency will be kept constant and another one will be oscillating. If you keep radio frequency as constant, then this will be oscillating, means it will be changing from 7,000 to 20,000 Gauss. External magnetic field, where external magnetic field as constant, if you keep at 14,092 Gauss, then applied frequency will be oscillating from 60 to 100 megahertz. Okay, so this is how continuous wave NMR functions to analyze the nucleus. Where FT NMR, FT is known as converting time domain spectra to frequency domain spectra. It will be converting in the NMR so that interpretation and accuracy also will be increasing in FT NMR. FT NMR is widely used comparing continuous wave NMR nowadays. Okay, so FT NMR will be having C13 and H1 NMR, proton and C13 NMR, carbon 13 NMR, two kinds of NMR we can use to detect the nucleus, major nucleus present in the organic molecules. That is carbon and hydrogen. So we'll take isotopes of carbon and hydrogen. Since odd mass number having isotopes only can give NMR, so that we'll be going with either proton or carbon 13 nucleus NMR. So that only NMR also divided into two categories. What are the parts of instruments we have seen? Source of light, that is heating coil. Then external magnetic field. Source for external magnetic field is electromagnet. So heating coil, electromagnet. Then rotating sample compartment, that is of 100 rotations per minute. It will be rotating. Okay. And then deuterated solvents, we cannot use as such the solvents in NMR. We need to convert protons into deuterated form. Then only it will be blank or transparent through the NMR signal analysis. So solvents are of deprotonated or deuterated solvents. Deprotonated or deuterated solvents to be used. While taking the sample, we need to see what kind of solvent we are using. So we can use the H2O, methanol, chloroform, DMSO, where the solvents are having protons. This will be substituted with deuterium. So D2O, methanol, MEOD. And then deuterated methanol, deuterium oxide, water will be called as deuterium oxide when it is substituted with a deuterium. Then deuterated chloroform, then DMSO, dimethyl sulfoxide will be deuterated dimethyl sulfoxide. Methyl group will be having CH3. So this will be substituted with a deuterium. So this kind of solvents can be widely used and commonly used solvents. Deuterium oxide, deuterated methanol, deuterated chloroform, and deuterated dimethyl sulfoxide. So these four kind of solvents are widely used in NMR. Then what is the internal standard? Along with the sample, NMR must be analyzed with the internal standard. So what we are using is tetramethylsilane, and the concentration of sample to be taken is from picogram to nanogram. Very minute sample is sufficient to get NMR signal. Okay. So what are the parts of instrument? Heating coils for light source, then electromagnet for electric external magnetic field, then rotating sample compartment, then sample cell, that is glass sample cell. Okay. Then what kind of sample is analyzed? The liquid sample, solids and liquids can be made as solutions. So in the diluted solution only is used to analyze. Okay. And then so to prepare a solution of solid and liquid samples, what kind of solvents we can use? Deprotonated or deuterated solvents we can use. And along with the solvents, what else we need to add? Internal standard. And what is the concentration of sample we can analyze? From picogram to nanogram, very minute amount. Picogram to nanogram sample is sufficient to get the means a very clear spectra. Okay. Well-defined spectra, NMR spectra for the compounds. Then what internal standard is used? And here we are not going to analyze in the spectrum. We are not going to analyze either radio wave or another source, external magnetic field. Instead of that, we are going to analyze chemical shift value, and this chemical shift for internal standard is 0. That's why tetramethylsilane is used as internal standard. Since all the protons present in the tetramethylsilane is shielded proton, it will be covered with electric field. Okay. So that it requires very high energy of electric magnetic field to absorb or to get resonance with the applied frequency. Okay. That is why it is not having any shift, chemical shift, so that it is appearing at 0 parts per million. You can find here in the spectrum at 0 parts per million, you can see a line that is due to internal standard. So comparing with internal standard only, all other sample protons will give the peaks, so that TMS is well selected as internal standard. Okay. Y means the protons present in the tetramethylsilane is shielded protons. Shielded means covered. The protons are covered with electric field. We require magnetic field, right? A magnetic field of proton only should coincide with the magnetic energy of radio waves, right? Instead of magnetic property deduction, this what it will do, electric property of the nucleus will cover the protons. So it will not allow magnetic property to resonate with the electric property of the magnetic property of the wave. It will not allow for resonance easily. Which one? Electric field. This covering of electric field is called as shielding. Okay. So that all the protons in the tetramethylsilane is known as a shielded proton. So it will require more energy. More energy means we need to apply more external magnetic field in order to process or in order to align all the protons present, all 12 protons present in the tetramethylsilane. Okay. so that only it requires high energy, so it will not be having any shift. So chemical shift value will be 0 parts per million when comparing with other sample protons. Okay. So this is about selection of internal standard. After then, detector. So regarding sample, what are the things we need to note down? A rotating sample compartment, then glass sample cell of 1 meter long. Okay, length of sample tube will be 1 meter, and it will be having very less diameter, only in point fractions only diameter. So thin glass tube will be used. In that, nanogram to picogram concentration of sample in the form of solution is taken. In order to prepare solution, what kind of solvent we need to use? Deuterated or deprotonated solvents must be used. Okay, and along with the solution, we need to add internal standard. Internal standard also should soluble in the same solvent. Okay. And what internal standard? Tetramethylsilane. Why it is chosen? Since it has 0 parts per million, it will not interfere with the sample absorption and sample peak. And next part of instrument is detector and then recorder. Detector uses photomultiplier tube in order to detect a radio waves, electromagnetic radiation as photons. A photomultiplier tube only is used, where we have discussed about photomultiplier tube under UP also, so you can check the same for writing in brief. Okay, and so it will be converting. Detector role is converting radiation energy to electrical energy, where photons are converted to electrons in order to give the electrical signal, and this concentration will be directly proportional to the concentration of sample present in the solution. Then recorder, what kind of recorder is used here means cathode ray oscillograph. Cathode ray oscillograph. Cathode, why it is mentioned? It is since you are analyzing protons. Protons are like positive charged compounds, right? So that we are using cathode ray oscillograph for recording. Okay, so that we'll be getting NMR spectra. This is how principle and instrumentation we have discussed, and now let's move on to the interpretation of NMR spectra. The next part, how the spectra after getting result from the instrumentation, how the spectrum appears means, see in the x-axis we are taking a chemical shift. In the y-axis we will be taking intensity of signal, and at the zero part, how we'll be taking x-axis means from 0 to 10 parts per million. Unit will be 10 parts per million, and what parameter is taken in x-axis is chemical shift, and it is denoted with delta. Okay, delta is the symbol of chemical shift, and the unit of chemical shift is parts per million. It will vary for any sample from 0 to 10 parts per million. Okay, and the standard absorption you can find at 0 parts per million, that is tetramethylsilane. Okay, tetramethylsilane. So all the protons present in the tetramethylsilane will have no shift from the value given, so that it appears at strong signal you can find at 0 parts per million. So at the position of tetramethylsilane, what we can find is here magnetic field, external magnetic field given at 0 parts per million is very high. External magnetic field given at 0 parts per million is very high. That's why it is giving strong signal, since all the protons are shielded protons. Okay, and then towards 10 parts per million, what happens? It is, all are listening, no? Getting the points right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. A little I'm
Yes,
going
ma'am.
fast since we need to cover many titles, that's why. Then sample protons will appear the signal below the field, means less magnetic field that is required for less comparing with standard. So towards or away from tetramethylsilane, here at 10 parts per million, magnetic strength will be less. Like if you take the range from 7,000 to 20,000 Gauss, 20,000 Gauss may require for tetramethylsilane activation, where for sample protons it will be varying from 7,000 to 20,000. So at 20,000 it may be resonating with radio frequency, so that only it is not giving any shift. Whereas other protons, sample protons, all will be moving giving signals below the range of external magnetic field. So chemical shift is based on, it will depend on the parameter of external field given and the radio frequency at what position it resonates. So that is called chemical shift. Now let's see from this graph, you can find CH3, CH2 and OH. So we'll take example of ethanol, ethanol CH3, CH2, OH. So in ethanol, how many kind of protons we can find? One, two, three. Three kind of protons we can find. How we can find three kind of protons? We can count the signals. How many signals? Don't consider about TMS. TMS will be means observed at 0 parts per million. Whereas these three signals are of your sample proton signal. So each signal we can count so that we can find how many kind of proton present in the sample. So the first parameter after getting the spectrum, what you can learn is you want to see is number of signals. First you have to see number of signals. How many number of signals for ethanol? We'll take the simple example of organic molecule. It has carbon and hydrogen. We are focusing on hydrogen, that is proton. Proton with mass number 1 is chosen for H1 NMR. H1 represents proton. Since it has mass number, odd mass number, and the spin quantum number will be half. It is the first element in the periodic table, so it will be having mass number 1. Okay. And from the from the spectrum, we can see first point as number of signals. So you want to count how many number of signals are there? 3 signals. So it says about 3 kind of protons are there. What are the 3 kinds? CH3 one kind, methyl proton, then methylene proton, CH2, then OH, hydroxyl proton. So the molecule has 3 kind of proton that can be known from counting number of signals. So number of signals will give you the information about how many kind of protons are present. How many kind of protons are present in the molecule. Okay. And this can be means the position of the signals can be depending on chemical shift value. So the second point will be seeing about position of signals, where the signals are located in the spectrum. Second point is about position of signals. Okay, position of signals represents chemical shift values. So where it is located in the x-axis. What is x-axis? Chemical shift. Chemical shift is nothing but the shift of sample protons from standard protons, how much distance it is shifted. So that is called as chemical shift. Okay, difference between sample proton absorption and standard proton absorption is known as chemical shift. So CH3 protons are shifted. You just think that here 2 parts per million and CH2 at 4 parts per million and OH at around 8 parts per million, you think. So based on its magnetic field strength, resonating frequency, it will be shifting from TMS value. So comparing with standard and standard, how much distance it is moved, means absorption position, how it is shifted from standard is known as chemical shift. So sample protons are shifted from standard protons. Standard protons are what? TMS. Sample protons are what? CH3, CH2 and OH. So all the protons are not giving at the same position. It is changed. The position is changed. So position of signals will tell about what kind of proton is present. Means what exactly nature of proton is present, whether it is aliphatic proton or aromatic proton or functional group proton associated with the functional group. Everything can be known by analyzing the position of signals. CH3 protons. Why CH3 protons are giving towards TMS? It is near to TMS, it is giving the signal, since it will be requiring high magnetic strength. I told already at 0 parts per million, magnetic strength will be high. So for CH3, magnetic strength will be high. Where CH2, it will be requiring somewhat less energy for resonating with the frequency. Likewise, OH requires very less magnetic field for resonating with the frequency. So these are all the factors. Will change the position from TMS, so that the chemical shift will be locating for the sample protons will be locating at x-axis at any of the parts per million value, and it will be ranging for all sample protons in H1 NMR. Chemical shift value will be ranging from 0 to 10 parts per million only. Okay, from 0 to 10 parts per million, not more than that. Maybe 0 to 20 parts per million for carbon 13 NMR. maximum it is of 0 to 20 parts per million. It can vary, but for carbon 13 it will be 0 to 200 parts per million. 0 to 200 parts per million. In hundreds we'll be getting shift value for carbon 13 NMR. Carbon 13 NMR chemical shift value will be ranging from 0 to 200 parts per million, whereas for proton NMR it will be varying from 0 to 20 parts per million. Mostly all the protons will lie between 0 and 10 parts per million only, but it can be extended up to 20 parts per million. In tens, it will be in tens, where for carbon 13 NMR it will be in hundreds. Okay. So that is the difference of the chemical shift value, but this is the measurement parameter in NMR spectrum. So we have seen, after taking the interpretation of spectrum, what are the two factors, two parameters we have seen. First one is number of signals. You want to count how many number of, if you are given with the NMR spectrum, after analyzing, after knowing the principal instrumentation, you are analyzing the sample and you are getting the spectrum. After giving, immediately what you will do, you want to count the signals. So how many signals are present? So for ethanol, how many signals? 3 signals. So 3 signals, what information you will get? How many kind of protons are there? 3 kind of protons are there. One is CH3, CH2, another one is OH. So proton associated with 3 groups. Okay, so that we can analyze. And next we have to know where these protons are located in the spectrum. Whether it is at 2 parts per million or 5 parts per million or 8 parts per million, that we need to analyze where it is located. So that will tell about chemical shift value. So what is chemical shift? It is the shift of absorption position of sample and absorption position of standard, or distance between sample absorption position and standard absorption position is called as a chemical shift, and the unit is parts per million, and we can denote it with delta. And one more value, one more symbol also is there for chemical shift, tau. It is not tough, it is tau, TAU, tau. Tau is another unit for chemical shift. We'll be mostly using tau. We'll be mostly using chemical shift values delta only. For a easy interpretation, we can go with delta values, and tau values also can be used. Tau is nothing but 10 minus delta. So if when you are starting at 0 to 10 parts per million, it is tau, delta value. If you start from 10 to 0, then that is tau value. That indicates 10 parts per million requires higher energy, like that. So if you take 0 parts per million only, it is easy to understand the concept, since TMS is not having any shift. So we can consider it as 0. So it is easy for interpretation when you take delta values. But tau values also are there. Tau is nothing but 10 minus delta. Whatever value, 0 minus 10 minus 0, then 10. So it will be reverse. Range will be in reverse, 10 to 0. Likewise for tau value in descending order it will be. So we'll be using ascending order so that we can understand the concepts clearly. And now let's move on to the chemical shift parameters, discussing about chemical shift values. Here I have focused position of signals as fourth parameter. Okay, let's discuss fourth parameter only, about a chemical shift and shielding and all. Now, second one, we can take it as intensity of peak. We have to see, after seeing the signal, we can see intensity of signal. You can see the line, whether it is more intense or less intense. For CH3 protons, it is more intense comparing with CH2, comparing with OH. Likewise, this is the most intense peak. This is more intense, and this is less intense peak. So from seeing the intensity of peak, we can find out how many number of protons, same kind of protons present in it. Okay, we are getting signal, single signal for set of protons, not for a single proton, right? For different kind of proton of same protons we are giving. Why means all 3 protons, for example CH3, if you take, all 3 protons will require same magnetic energy for resonating with the frequency. That means the precessional frequency for all the protons are same. That's why it is giving at same chemical shift value, and intensity of signal will be high. For 3 protons it will be high, triple times it is high comparing with CH2 and OH. So by knowing intensity of signal, we can come to know how many number of same kind of protons are present. Same kind means CH3 protons. CH3 is all the protons are attached to same carbon. So how many kind of same kind of protons are present? That we can analyze by knowing intensity. For 2 protons, intensity will be somewhat less. For 1 proton, will be very less. So from that, we can find out how many set of protons are present, whether 3 protons or 2 protons. Exactly how we can analyze whether 3 protons are there, 2 protons or 1 proton. By the third parameter, that is peak area counting, we can go with counting the peak area of each group, okay, each set of protons. So how we can count the peak area? We will not get like this lines. We will be getting peaks. So around, so under the peak, how many squares are there in the NMR spectrum? You can find like graphs, squares. Okay, so you have to count squares. How many squares are there? If 3 kind of protons are there, then 33 or around 30s you will be getting the number of squares. 32, 35 like that in 3. Tens will be starting with 3. So that represents 3 protons are there. 3 protons of same set of same kind is present. So methyl proton, we can expect it is methyl proton. Likewise, if we count the peak area under the peak for CH2 protons, then it may be around 20s. So the tens position you can see 2. So that represents 2 protons. Likewise, 1 proton it will be in 10. So you can find 10s. So this is number of squares present under the peak. Number of squares. Squares means under the peak, like graph, in graph you can find squares. So we have to count how many squares are present. So it will be in tens. If it is 30s, then it will be indicating 3 protons. Then if it is in 20, then it indicates 2 protons. If it is in tens, it will be indicating 1 proton of same kind. That we can conclude from peak area counting. So intensity of peak and peak area counting will tell about how many how many protons of same kind is present. How many protons of same kind is present. That we can come to know. If intensity is more, we can assume that more protons are there. If intensity is less, we may expect 1 or 2 protons. Likewise, okay. And then that can be confirmed from peak area counting. How many squares under the peak is counted, and then we can finalize how many protons are present in that. Okay. And one more, sometimes you will not get for same kind of proton only one signal. You will be getting for same kind of proton 2 signal. It will be splitted into 2 signals. How means you want to see the stereochemical formula. Here we have taken for ethanol only chemical formula. This is not sufficient. When you are going with the cis and trans isomers, we need to go with the stereochemical formula of the molecule. When you see the stereochemical formula, this is the methylene chloride. CH2 double bond, ethylene chloride, CH2 double bond, CHCl. Here chloride is attached. These 2 protons are in trans position, and actually these 2 protons are similar protons, right? How many signals we need to get? Only 2 kind of protons are there. One is CH proton, another one is CH2 proton. So in the spectrum, how many signals you want to get? Only 2 signals. But it will be giving 3 signals. So like 3 kind of proton it will be giving. How means when you are seeing the stereochemical formula of this molecule, actually these 2 protons has to give around 7,000 Gauss. You think that 7,000 Gauss it has to give. But 1 proton among in the same set of protons, 1 proton among these 2 will be observing at a higher value. Like 10,000, maybe 8,000 or 7,500, it will be observing or resonating with the frequency. Whereas another proton, it is a single proton, it may be giving out 10,000. How it will be influenced for giving 3 signals means this chloride ion is present. No, it is electronegative group. It will withdraw the electrons present around this proton. So electron density will be varying around the proton, so that this proton will be changing its absorption comparing with this proton. Even if it is attached to the same carbon, it will not give single peak. It will be going with 2 peaks. And so in this case, we need to have what? stereochemical formula, then only we can analyze how many kind of signals we can get. So number of signals will be varying based on the cis and trans isomers. Okay, so that we have to see about stereochemical formula of the compound, then we can finalize the same set of carbons or protons are giving single signal or two signals. Okay, based on the environment of atom, spatial arrangement of atom, it will be absorbing a different frequency, so that we have to find out through stereochemical formula only. If we see the only molecular chemical formula, we will be assuming that only two signals will be getting, but when we analyze with a stereochemical formula, we may expect three signals. Okay, so that is to be finalized when you are counting number of signals itself. Okay, so in number of signals, you have to see about stereochemical formula also. And till now we have seen about number of signals. It will tell about how many kind of protons, and then intensity of peak. It will tell how many kind of same protons are present. How many number of protons, how many are present, the same kind of protons. And then peak area counting will tell you how many number of protons exactly. Okay, whether it is 3 or 2 or 1 will be observed through peak area counting, and the stereochemical formula will tell exactly how many signals will be getting for a molecule. Then fourth will be moving on to position of signals. See, it is most important, and you will be getting 5-mark question or 10-mark question from this topic, position of signals. Okay, so carefully listen to it. If you understand the position of signals, then whole NMR concept will be understood. Okay, so position of signals is explained by what parameter, chemical shift value, and it will tell about position of signals will tell about what category of proton is present, what category, whether methyl proton or alkyl proton, alkaline proton, or what alkene, alkyne or aromatic, what kind of proton it is, what category it comes under, that can be analyzed by position of signals. Okay, position of signals, it is explained now in this page. So it is explained with the chemical shift. So chemical shift is nothing but the distance between absorption position of standard and sample. Distance between absorption position of sample and standard. Standard is what? TMS. Sample is what? CH3, CH2 and OH. So this difference is known as chemical shift. Already we have seen what is chemical shift and its symbol, how we are denoting chemical shift, either tau value or with delta value. Tau spelling I already said, TAU, it is not tough, it is tau. So tau is nothing but 10 minus delta. Now chemical shift caused by two effects. It occurs based on two effects. How it is shifted from standard means due to two effects called as the shielding and de-shielding effects. It is very important in NMR, shielding and de-shielding effect. When NMR interpretation comes, these are all the parameters you have to look after. Okay, you will be doing in the practical, so kindly note down all the parameters. You have to see for all the parameters and you need to write down the interpretation. Okay. So what are the two effects? Shielding effect and de-shielding effect. What is shielding and de-shielding means? Consider, see this picture. Can you observe the picture? See this proton picture. So this is a proton nucleus. Okay, it will be creating while it is spinning. What is our concept? Proton is spinning. Since it is having odd mass number, it has spin and it creates magnetic field. And this magnetic field should align with the or precise with the external magnetic field given to the nucleus. External magnetic field, that is H0 or B0, we can say. It is given from the bottom of the nucleus, and it has to the nucleus rotation should be aligning with the field. Okay, then only when it is processing with the field only it can absorb the radiation. But what happens due to this shielding and de-shielding effect, the electrons present around the nucleus also will be spinning, right? When we keep external magnetic field, not only protons are spinning, where electrons also will be surrounding it. So this will be creating electric field or a strong magnetic field that is called as secondary magnetic field that is created by electrons. What is primary magnetic field required for NMR signal, NMR absorption? That is magnetic field created by the proton nucleus, whatever nucleus we take. So this kind of magnetic field is called primary magnetic field or paramagnetic field. Primary or paramagnetic field. Listen to this concept, okay? Paramagnetic field. Paramagnetic field or primary magnetic field is created by proton, where electrons around the proton also will be creating magnetic field that is called as secondary magnetic field. Secondary magnetic field or diamagnetic field. Diamagnetic field. Okay. And what happens, this magnetic field, secondary magnetic field, if it covers the primary magnetic field that is created by proton, or if the proton is present inside the secondary magnetic field, what happens, we need to apply more external energy to overcome this secondary magnetic field. Then only the proton nucleus will be processing or aligning with the external magnetic field to resonate with the frequency. If a secondary magnetic field is present or electron density around the proton is increased, then shielding effect will be increased. So when proton is present inside the secondary magnetic field, the effect is called as shielding effect, since the paramagnetic field of proton is covered with diamagnetic field of electrons. Shielding is due to what? Secondary magnetic field. Who is creating secondary magnetic field? Electrons. Where the electrons are present around the proton, around the magnetic field created by proton. So what is the magnetic field created by proton? That is paramagnetic field. Okay. So to overcome this secondary or diamagnetic field, what we need to do? We have to apply more external magnetic strength. Then only secondary magnetic field will be relaxed, so that we can process the primary magnetic field of the nucleus. Then only the nucleus will be absorbing the energy and it will be flipped so that we can analyze what kind of proton it is. So to give NMR signal, we have to overcome the diamagnetic field. So diamagnetic field is known as shielding. A shielding effect that creates shielding effects or cover or shield for the primary magnetic field. So the effect created by this is called as shielding effect. When this proton is outside the diamagnetic field, if the proton is present outside the diamagnetic field, now it is inside, you can see in the picture it is inside. If the proton and the primary magnetic field is outside the diamagnetic field, then we require only less energy, so that what happens, easily the compound nucleus gets resonates with the frequency. So this effect is called as a de-shielding effect. It is de-shielded. Shielding is deleted. So it is called as de-shielding effect, since the proton is not exist inside the diamagnetic field. Diamagnetic field is away from the primary magnetic field, so that the effect will be called as shielding effect. So due to this secondary magnetic field, if the proton is present inside the secondary magnetic field, it is called as shielded proton. If it is outside the shielding effect is called as, or diamagnetic field is called as de-shielded proton. So proton itself called with that term. Shielded proton means it is present inside the diamagnetic field. De-shielded means it is present outside the diamagnetic field. So that is the concept of de-shielding and shielding. And one more, from the spectrum, we can find that what is de-shielding and shielding means. When shielding occurs, I told already TMS protons are highly shielded protons, so it will be covered completely with a diamagnetic field or a secondary magnetic field of electrons created by electrons. Okay, so that only it is not having any shift. So towards TMS, if you take this is the spectral region, towards TMS, whatever peaks are appearing, the shift is called as upfield shift. Up represents a higher magnetic field. Field is magnetic field. Shift is shifting of protons towards higher magnetic field. So the shift is called as what? Upfield shift. Okay, upfield shift. Upfield shift. Okay. And if the protons are de-shielded, if the protons are de-shielded away from diamagnetic field, it will be requiring only very less energy for resonating it. So the shift will be away from TMS. Since at TMS it is having highest magnetic strength. So towards or away from TMS, this peak is known as, or the shift is known as a downfield shift. Downfield shift. Downfield shift. Got it? So towards or away from TMS is the downfield shift, towards TMS is upfield shift. So this is caused by shielding and de-shielding effect, that is due to what? Diamagnetic field. And it is explained with an example of compounds. First we'll take the ethylene molecule. What happened, Pa? Any doubt? Who is having doubt? Understood now till now, whether you have understood four parameters we have discussed till now?
Yes, ma'am.
What number of signals we have seen, intensity of signals, and then peak area counting, and fourth one we are discussing about position of signals. Position of signals only in brief we need to discuss, that's why we are entering in that. We are discussing about chemical shift. Chemical shift is due to two effects, that is shielding and de-shielding effect. Shielding effect is due to what? Diamagnetic field or a secondary magnetic field created by the electrons that is surrounding the nucleus. If the nucleus or proton is present inside the diamagnetic field, it is said as shielded proton. If it is outside, then it is de-shielded proton. So for this effect, when shielding effect is present, then the peak will be towards it, signal will be appearing towards TMS. So that is called as upfield shift. If the protons are de-shielded protons, then shift will be towards a downfield shift, that will be away from TMS at less strength. So from the peak we can see at 0 parts per million, it will be having highest external magnetic field, since the electron density will be high. If more electrons will be there around the nucleus, more will be the diamagnetic field strength. So we need to apply more external magnetic field to overcome the diamagnetic field. Okay, so that towards the downfield shift, only less energy, magnetic strength is required, and less electron density will be around the proton. So you have to compare for shielding and de-shielding effect, magnetic field strength, and then electron density. Electron density. Okay, where in IU we have seen, if an electron density is high, higher frequency will be reduced. But here in NMR, when you increase electron density around the proton or particular group, what happens? Diamagnetic field will be increased, so we require more energy. Okay. Now let's see with the example shielding and de-shielding effect. We'll take the molecule, ethylene molecule. Here the protons will be shifted towards the downfield shift. So let's take the example of ethylene. Here you can find the protons CH2 and CH2, CH2, double bond CH2. You have to write stereochemical formula. I already said we have to consider stereochemical formula of the molecule. Okay. Now see the electrons where it is present. C at C double bond C, pi electrons, and the electrons which causes diamagnetic field. It is around carbon, where protons are present here. Means away from the carbon or diamagnetic field. So this is the diamagnetic field creating, and this magnetic field will be opposing the external magnetic field given. This arrow represents external magnetic field, and this arrow anti-clockwise rotation represents a diamagnetic field with the highest strength. And this is the proton. Protons are present outside the diamagnetic field, and it will be creating primary magnetic field, and primary magnetic field will be of what aligning with the arrow mark represents it is aligning or precessing with the external magnetic field, so that what happens when it is getting precessed with the external magnetic field, it requires only less magnetic strength energy, so that it will be easily resonating with the field. Okay, and where diamagnetic field will be away from this paramagnetic field or primary magnetic field. So this protons are whether shielded protons or de-shielded protons, they are de-shielded protons, so they will appear towards downfield shift. From TMS it will be having more distance to absorb for resonance or for absorption. So chemical shift value will be high for de-shielded proton. Chemical shift value will be less if the proton is present inside. So for ethylene, the shift occurs towards downfield shift, since the protons are de-shielded protons in ethylene. And now let's consider another example also for another kind of molecule. We'll take acetylene. Okay, acetylene CH. CH triple bond CH, it is acetylene. This is the spatial arrangement of atoms, stereochemical formula of acetylene, where the electrons are present here, then it will be creating a magnetic field. So it will be creating magnetic field in the same direction of protons. Protons also creating primary magnetic field. So secondary and primary magnetic field are in the same direction. Hence the proton falls inside the secondary magnetic field, so it requires higher energy to overcome diamagnetic field. Hence acetylene will be shifted towards upfield shift. The protons, CH protons, will be appearing towards the TMS, since the protons are inside the diamagnetic field. And unlike ethylene protons are outside the diamagnetic field, so it has come under downfield shift, whereas acetylene comes under upfield shift. Okay, the protons present in acetylene will be appearing at a higher field shift, means towards TMS. Chemical shift value will be less there. Now, let's consider an aromatic compound, that is benzene. Here you can write the stereochemical formula of benzene. You can find the protons are here, where pi electrons are present. Which electrons will be creating diamagnetic field means pi electrons. Pi electrons, not sigma electrons. Here pi bond where it is located around carbon. Okay, and this pi electrons are only creating diamagnetic field. When it is creating diamagnetic field, protons are falling inside the diamagnetic field, where in ethylene protons are falling outside the diamagnetic field, coming outside. Okay, and like that here an aromatic compound also in benzene, where pi electrons are present inside the ring, so it is diamagnetic field is created inside the ring only. All other protons are creating magnetic field, the primary magnetic field is outside the ring. So it is not at all falling inside the diamagnetic field. So all the protons are de-shielded protons in aromatic compound. So it will be appearing towards downfield shift. So this is about chemical shift, and it is it appears due to shielding and de-shielding effect. Okay. Now let's see what are the factors affecting chemical shift. So with this we'll complete. What are the factors affecting chemical shift means you can find here upfield and downfield shielding and all. What already we have discussed. The factors are some quite similar to the factors what we have seen under IR. Inductive effect, already we have seen the electronic effect. Inductive effect is of plus I and minus I effect. Plus I effect is due to electron donating groups, where minus I effect is due to electronegative groups, electron attracting groups. So what are the electron donating groups? CS3OH, NH2. What are electron attracting groups or electronegative groups? Or nitro group, carboxyl group, halides, this all. Okay, and when electronegative groups are present, what happens means, just we'll see with the form, this chemical formula. When electronegative groups are attached, it will be pulling, electron attracting. So it will be attracting the electrons, which causes which creates a diamagnetic field. So what happens? Diamagnetic field strength will be reduced with the electronegative group. Electronegative group will be attracting more electrons towards it, so that it will be reducing electron density, so that the proton present inside the diamagnetic field will be requiring less energy for resonance. So the shift occurs towards downfield shift. So when minus I effect is present with the protons, definitely it will be appearing towards downfield shift. So expecting from the expected chemical shift, it will be shifted towards downfield. Understood now why? Since electronegative groups will attract the electrons, that causes diamagnetic field. Whereas electron donating groups, what it will do? It will be donating more electrons, so that diamagnetic field strength will be increased and we require more energy, and the shift will be towards upfield shift. The reaction will be reversed. So plus I effect causes upfield shift, minus A effect causes downfield shift. This is the reason. Okay. And next is hydrogen bonding. I already said hydrogen bonding, when it is present, it will be causing de-shielding only. Let's see with the next page, hydrogen bonding. Hydrogen bonding actually always causes de-shielding only. What are the types of hydrogen bonding? Downfield shift only it causes intra and intramolecular hydrogen bonding, and these are the factors we have already seen under IR also. IR also hydrogen bonding when forms, it requires less vibrational energy. Likewise here also, when hydrogen bond forms, the electrons are contributing for hydrogen bond formation, either intermolecular or intramolecular. When the electrons that is creating diamagnetic field is contributing for another, if you are like deviating concentration of electron to form hydrogen bonding, so that it loses its effect, diamagnetic effect, so the protons will be becoming de-shielded protons. So shift occurs towards downfield shift. So hydrogen bonding causes de-shielding effect, so the shift occurs towards downfield. Since it requires less magnetic strength, since the electron density is reduced as electrons are contributed for hydrogen bonding. Okay. And the third effect is van der Waals de-shielding. When van der Waals effect is present, electron around the proton, that is electrons present around the proton will donate its electron to the bulky group, thereby de-shielding occurs. Electron density is reduced. So that is represented with van der Waals effect. Only then electron positive groups, the plus I effect only causes increase in shift. Next effect is anisotropic effect. Anisotropic is nothing but a spatial arrangement. It is also depending on spatial arrangement of atoms. That already we have seen examples of ethylene, acetylene and benzene. You have to quote as the same examples here. Okay. For anisotropic effect, how the after seeing the spatial arrangement or stereochemical formula, based on the location of protons, we can find whether it is present inside the diamagnetic field or outside the diamagnetic field. So that effect is called as anisotropic effect. The same example you have to quote here. And the next part is spin splitting. This is most important. Another 5-mark question, splitting of signals. You will be getting splitting or spin splitting. It will take another half an hour to explain. We'll discuss this spin splitting and other part of NMR in the next class. Okay. This part we will see in the next class. Now we have seen how many factors we have seen. How many parameters under interpretation we have seen. Interpretation of NMR signal. 4 parameters we have seen. One is number of signals. Second one is intensity of signals. Third one is peak area counting. Fourth one is position of signals. Intensity of number of signals will tell about how many kind of protons present. How many kind of protons are present. Intensity of signals will tell about how many protons of same kind is present. How many protons of same kind is present. And peak area counting will tell exactly how many number of protons are present of same kind. Then position of signals will tell about a chemical shift value, where the protons are shifted from the standard and where it is located in the spectrum. That means it will tell about what category of proton, whether aliphatic or aromatic, or what category of proton, what class of proton it is, or what group of proton it is. We can find out from position of signals. In position of signals, what we have seen, chemical shift. It is defined by chemical shift only. And what is chemical shift? What is the unit and all we have seen. And the chemical shift is due to two effects, shielding and de-shielding effect. Paramagnetic field, diamagnetic field we have seen. Paramagnetic field is the field to be detected by NMR, where diamagnetic field is interfering magnetic field, that is secondary magnetic field created by electron, spinning of electron. So when electron density around the proton is increased, shielding will be increased. So that is shielding effect. If the proton is outside the shielding effect, then it is called de-shielded proton. So based on that, we can decide the chemical shift for the particular class of protons. And what are the factors will affect this chemical shift value from normal means? In that we have seen what are the parameters we have seen from the first one is the inductive effect. Inductive effect, okay, that is plus I and minus I effect. Plus I effect causes field shift, minus I effect causes the downfield shift, and then hydrogen bonding, van der Waals de-shielding we have seen. This all causes downfield shift and de-shielding of protons. Okay. Now we'll see about an anisotropic also we have seen. Anisotropic also represents spatial arrangement of atoms. So whatever we have seen examples for chemical shift, the same can be written here as ethylene, ethylene. It is based on the spatial arrangement of atoms anisotropic effect causes. So based on that whether it is de-shielded or shielded protons that we can analyze through the atom's location where it is in the molecule. That is called as anisotropic effect. Then fifth parameter spin splitting we'll see in the next class. Okay. And that is another 5-mark question. So what are the factors? Inductive effect, hydrogen bonding, van der Waals de-shielding, and then anisotropic effect. So 4 factors we have seen. Okay. And 4 parameters we have seen. 4 factors, 4 parameters. Factors we have seen under position of signals. The 4th parameter, chemical shift. What are the 4 parameters we have seen? Number of signals, intensity, peak area, and position of signals. Okay, so with this I will stop the today's class. Thank you all for your cooperation. Is there any doubt? If you have any doubt, you can clarify now
Thank you,
itself.
ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. For
No,
listening.
ma'am.
Understood now?
Thank you, ma'am.
Understood all the concepts, right? Behind the NMR
Yes,
till now?
ma'am.
Okay, pa. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Take class.